Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Ireland and today's video is going to be a Q1 book update. So I'm super excited to walk you through all of the books that I've read so far in 2023. My goal this year was or is 50 books. So I'll give you an update on my progress so far, where I'm at, if I'm behind schedule, anything like that. I'll also go through each of the books I've read and I'll tell you my Goodreads rating. I'll link my Goodreads below so you can follow me there. Keep track of what books I'm reading and we can stay up to date in a more real time. I would love to be friends on Goodreads. It's such a fun platform. I feel like I check it more than any of my other social media, so definitely let's be friends on there. I'm wearing this really cute little Nike crew neck and sweatsuit right now. It's so cozy, and my beverage of choice today is a Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. If you haven't tried them, you have to run and go try them. They're literally so good. Now, without any further ado, we can get into the books I've read so far. And I'll try to give a brief synopsis on kind of what the book was about, if I liked it, if I'd recommend it or not, highlights, lowlights, whatever of the book. So we could just get right into it. So we'll start off with the first book I read this year, which was actually a book club book for me and my friends. So one of my friends, Sarah, got us this book for Christmas and all of us were reading it. So that's kind of the start, and you'll see this book was also a series, so I've completed the series at this point. The first book of the year was A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson, and I absolutely loved this book. Anything that's set in like a high school setting, I don't know what it is, like it's gonna do it for me, but this was definitely like a thriller-esque type of book. Really takes you along the whole account of this teenager's life, and she's trying to solve a murder in her hometown that happened 5 years previously. So there's a love interest between her and the neighbor boy. Lots of different characters within the book, and their lives are being tracked throughout this. So she is a great writer. I loved her writing. Definitely highly recommend this book. I rated it I gave that one a 5. It was about 400 pages. It was thriller, fiction. Obviously I really loved reading it, and I would definitely recommend it. I would say it was a really good one to get out of a slump too, because it just really kept you on your toes, and it was a fun read. Like, I just really enjoyed it. It's a great book club book too. So I would recommend that one. Give it a 5. Book number 2 for 2023 was 20 Years Later by Charlie Donnelly. And I actually really liked this one. It's hard for me to remember some of these books. I'm like, I have to do like a refresher on them. Okay, so the second book, I had to do a refresher because I literally forgot what this book was about. Not saying that it's not good, because it was. I gave it a 4. No, I gave the book a 4.5. Okay, so book number 2 is 20 Years Later. What is that noise? I'm literally getting aggravated. Like, what is that? Of course, when I sit down to record this video, like a noise you've never heard before, like, where did that come from? I don't know what that siren means. It's not a certain time. Is there a tornado? Like, come on. Like, we're fine. We don't need a siren. Anyways, book number 2. I would recommend this book. I had to do a refresh. So here's a little synopsis of the book. A TV reporter named Avery Mason seeks to uncover the truth behind a decades-old murder case involving Victoria Ford, who was accused of killing her married lover. Like an FBI agent who's also trying to solve this case because it has something to do with something he's involved in, and that's part of it. And then there's a big twist at the end, and there's a lot going on in this book, and it's all coming back to me now. But I do remember really liking it. There was a little bit tied into 9/11 as well, so you know, I overall liked the book. I gave it a 4.5. So book number 3 was Good Girl, Bad Blood by Holly Jackson, which is the book number 2 in the series, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. And I gave this one a 4. I remember liking it, but just not as much as the first one. The second book for me, out of the 3, was my least favorite. It followed a storyline of one of the characters briefly mentioned in the first story, and it tied in parts of the first murder mystery into this second, like, investigation that Pippa, the main character, was trying to like figure out. So she was being recruited into this new investigation, and I don't know, like I just didn't have any strong feelings towards the people involved in the second investigation at all. Like I just didn't really care if it was solved or not. There were a lot of good twists and turns and like references to the first book and characters in the first book, but overall, not my favorite. But obviously if you're gonna read the whole series, you have to read the second book. So I gave it a 4 and I stick with that. I feel like that's fair. My fourth book was The It Girl by Ruth Ware, and I gave this one a 3 because it was actually pretty hyped up to me. I think a lot of people really liked it. It was actually a Redheads, which is another book I follow, book club I follow. It's a podcast. So this was one of their books for the year. They do like 1 book a month, so I try to follow their monthly book recommendations. Oh my gosh. I enjoyed the writing and I enjoyed the story, and it was basically this girl, it was set in like the 60s, I think, somewhere, no, before then. Oh my gosh, no way, I'm getting this confused with a different book. Hold on, but it still rings true. The It Girl. Anyways, I'm just trying to tell you what I've been reading. I feel like this is relatable and realistic. So, The It Girl, blah, 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 totally forgot what this was about. Oh my gosh. So I gave this one a 3 because, so basically it's set in London. So there was some, or not London, but Oxford. So not sure, that might, I don't even really know geography. Anyway, so basically it's about this girl who's in college and she goes to Oxford, obviously, and there's a murder, there's a death of her roommate. And her roommate's like this it girl, like rich, popular, sneaky snake kind of vibe, but also like a really good friend to her. And it basically goes and hops back and forth between her current life, the not dead girl, the Hannah Jones. It hops between her life now and her in college, and I liked the college scenes a lot better than her current life. Her current life was, she was just so stuck in the past. She couldn't get over it. She's pregnant. She's still worrying about her dead roommate in college. It was kind of frustrating. Like, I didn't really love the main character, so it's hard to love the book when you don't really care for the main character. Anyway, so it follows like the murder mystery and her uncovering the details of the said murder. So that's why I gave it a 3. It was interesting, but also some of the language, like the English and that, like something about it, I was like, I don't really know what they're talking about sometimes. Like, you had to look up a lot of stuff, which, not that that's bad, but it just breaks up the flow of the book for me. So that's why I gave it a 3. The 5th book of 2023 that I read was Living Untethered, which this is the sequel to a book, Untethered Soul. So, Living Untethered, nonfiction book, just kind of throwing that in there because I did read it, but mostly I read fiction books. This was just something that I like to read nonfiction in the morning, so I'll read like 10 pages in the morning of nonfiction or sometime throughout the day, and you know, I just get that little bit in, but it's not my main substance of reading. Like, that's not what I really want to read. It's just, I feel good about doing it. I feel like I can learn a little bit, but yeah. I gave it a 5. I actually did like it because I really enjoyed the first one. It's a lot of living untethered, is kind of exactly what it sounds like, just being present in the moment, meditation, practices of like, you are not your thoughts, you are experiencing your thoughts. So kind of goes through how to apply the principles of the first book, but it's still not super practical. It's still kind of like, yeah, just let go and let God, basically. And it's like, okay, like, but what does that mean? So, I mean, I did like it, and a lot of these like principles in it, I feel like you can apply to your life, but it's just a matter of actually figuring out how. So that is my 5th book of 2023. So book number 6 was As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson. So this was the 3rd book in the series. I actually have this one. Usually I read on my Kindle or like a library book, but I actually went and bought this one because I just had to get it ASAP and read it. So this was the 3rd book in the series, As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson, and I gave this one a 5. So this really tied up a lot of the loose ends, and really this one took a turn. Like, when it, oh my goodness, like the main character in this one, it's like you love to hate her. You're really rooting for her even though you don't want to be. It's a wild ride, this book, and kind of a weird place to end off. But the love interest between her and Ravi, it really goes to a new level in this one. Not like spicy, but like their commitment to each other is like, it's for real. So anyways, I gave this one a 5. I think she tied up a lot of the loose ends in this book, and it was a good one. Like, I liked it way better than 2. Don't think I liked it better than 1. Like, the first one's always gonna be the OG, but it was an interesting read, like, for sure. So that's all I'll say about that one. The 7th book I read in 2023 was City of Girls. So this one had a lot of hype, and there was a lot of comparison of City of Girls to the Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which I do see like the correlation there. I did enjoy it. It's like this girl goes to New York City for the first time, and she starts living there with her aunt who runs a musical theater, and it's the inner workings of the theater scene and the struggling theater company. They never rise to fame, really. They have a moment in the spotlight, but that's about it. And this girl's quest for finding herself and finding love and friendship, and it is an interesting book, I will say, but I felt like I was waiting for something big to happen the whole time, and nothing big really did ever happen, in my opinion. Like, the way it ended was just like not what I hoped. I mean, it was a great display of like becoming, like figuring out who you are and living life outside of like the expectations of society and things like that, but I don't know. In the beginning, I really was like, oh, like, where's this big twist gonna come? When is she gonna meet the person or whatever? I don't know. I just couldn't really grasp, like, what was the point of the whole thing, you know? Like, when nothing big really happens, it's like, okay, well, like, I don't get the point. Anyways, I don't think I said who this was by, but City of Girls by Elizabeth Gilbert. So I gave this one a 3. And yeah, like, I didn't even really have a favorite character. So that's when you know the book's like, not my favorite. So that's why I gave it a 3. But it was a good read. It was an easy read. I got through it, so it's fine. So book number 8 of 2023 was In 5 Years by Rebecca Serrell. This one was a super quick read. If you're in a reading slump, I would say give this one a try. Again, not my favorite. It was hard to really like a lot of the characters. I mean, they were all fine. That's the thing, they were just fine. That's really all there was to it. But I would say it's a good book. I gave it a 3.5. I don't know how good that is to you, but that's what I gave it. I enjoyed reading it because it was so quick. Like, I never had trouble picking up the book, so I felt like that was a good sign, but at the end I was left a little bit disappointed, so there's that. So this was a Redheads read also, but not a recent one. This was like years ago, and I went back and listened to the podcast recap of it, and I think they had a similar consensus. Like, it was okay. I guess it was a display of friendship, like that was a major theme in the book, but really, like, she wasn't that great of a friend, so I don't know how you can call it a book about friendship when it's like you're a bad friend. The main character kind of was just not my vibe. Didn't love her. So let me take off these glasses. I really hope they haven't been distracting the whole time, but the glare is kind of getting on my nerves. So moving on to book number 9, which is another nonfiction. It's You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. This one, don't waste your time. I mean, it was basically just regurgitating every self-help book that is out there. It was like, it did reference a lot of self-help books a lot of the time, but I just was like, there's really no new original ideas or concepts here. Like, I really can't tell you the main takeaway other than the BS, like, self-help stuff that's already been out there and been promoted like crazy. So a lot of times with reading these self-help books, it's like I want to like them, but they're so like 2017 hustle culture that I can't. So I don't know. It's okay. Don't waste your time though. Like there's other self-help books you should read, like Living Untethered or Untethered Soul. I would highly recommend those. I gave this one a 3. Like honestly, I should have gave it a 2. Don't waste your time. The next book I really enjoyed. It was a, well, I say really enjoyed, but it was an interesting concept, but I don't know that I would recommend it because it was so interesting, but I didn't love everything about this book. So without further ado, let me tell you, book number 10 of 2023 was The Measure by Nikki Ehrlich. So this book, I gave it a 4.5, which this was a redheads read as well. I did enjoy the book. But let me just set the stage for you. So basically everybody in this book receives a string at age 22, and it's the measure of one's life. So it depicts how long you have to live. And, you know, some people are short stringers, some people are long stringers, and there's a whole debate on short stringers like being unwell, being unhinged, and it goes through basically the lives of several different strangers. Their lives kind of all intertwine at some point. There's a lot of themes covered. People who are already in relationships and one receives a short, one receives a long string, like will they go on? You know, there's ideas of like what dating would be like, how the government intervenes in this. And so it's very similar and draws a lot of parallels to the pandemic. So if you're not really trying to relive that time or rehash it, I would say like, like not worth the read. It's not like it specifically mentions the pandemic, but it's just very similar and eerily similar. Like everybody receives these strings in March, like nobody knows where they came from. And then it goes through like a lot of the similar, like, I don't know, the timeline was similar. So the book wasn't really that dark or deep, I would say, but it's really just kind of plays around some of the themes of like the pandemic and stuff. So it was okay in that regard, but it was just an interesting concept. Like if you just kind of thought of it as like, what would you do if you got a string? Like, would you look in the box and see how long your string was? Would you care? Would it change how you live your life? So it touches on a lot of those things. So it was interesting in that way. So book number 11 for 2023 was The Genius of Jesus by Erwin McManus, who is a pastor in LA at Mosaic. This book, I've had this book for a while and I hadn't read it, but it basically goes through the life of Jesus and how a lot of the greats in the world, these creatives and artists and things like Beethoven and Aristotle and all of these geniuses, why is Jesus not on this list, and basically makes a case for why Jesus should be on the list and considered as genius. It goes through his life as here on earth, and I thought it was a really interesting read. There's also, it's not like super historical. It's a lot of, I wouldn't call it like self-help, but it is a faith-focused book, and it does have a lot of valuable lessons and themes that you could pull and apply to your own life. And I do believe that he is coming out with a new book soon, I think released later in the fall, about like applying creativity and like the genius to your life. So he kind of mentions that theme throughout this book as well. But I actually really enjoyed this book. It's one of the books I would consider like the nonfiction that I read in the morning. So I enjoyed doing that with my devotional. I thought that was like a good like kind of supplement to a devotional too. So if you were looking for something like that, I would recommend this book. I gave it a 5 because like I just really liked it, and he has a very good writing style as well. So those are my books so far for 2023. So I'm currently reading Mad Honey, and this was my pick for my book club with my hometown friends, and I'm really excited about it. I'm actually like halfway through, like 50%-ish on it, and a big twist just happened, so that's exciting. We love a twist. So this Mad Honey is by Jodi Picoult, and this is a library book, by the way. Anyways, I'm a big library girl, a huge Libby girl. So all of those things. But anyways, those were my reads so far. I'm hoping to finish this one by the end of the week, so I can say I have read 12 books so far. So let's see if I'm on track. I like when you set a goal on Goodreads, you can kind of see if you're on track so far for your goal for the year. So let me look at mine, and I've read 11 out of 50, like I said. So I'm one book behind schedule, but if I finish this book this week, I think I'll be good. But yeah, so those are my books in Q1 that I've read in 2023, and I'm a huge reader. I love reading. It's one of my favorite, I would consider it a hobby. Yeah, so comment below if you read any of the books that I mentioned in today's video. I would love to have a discussion. If you guys want to follow me on Goodreads, I'll link my Goodreads below, and I'm so excited for this video. I hope it encourages you to pick up one of these books that I recommended, or give me a book rec if there's something that you're like, oh my gosh, you liked this book, you'll love this book. I would love to hear your guys' recommendations. So thanks for watching today's video. Feel free to like and subscribe and stay tuned for more content. Thanks. Love you guys. Bye.